What's up, Knights? How's it going? I'm Bobby Metzger, and here with Coach Harrell. Coach Harrell, how's it going?
Doing well.
Great. Obviously, you played at a pretty high level athletically. How was that, going through from high school to college? Like, what were the changes that you saw?
Really just the time that you have, to be honest with you. I love high school football. That's all. Like, my granddad was a coach. My dad was a coach. He was actually my coach. Both my brothers coach high school ball. And so, growing up, I always dreamed of, being an Ennis Lion, which is where I grew up. And then I didn't really think much about college football. And then, obviously, as I started having success in high school, I started to get recruited a little bit. And ended up at Texas Tech, which was a great fit for me. And I think that's where, to be honest with you, I think that's one of the reasons I had as much success as I had in college was because I found a place that fit me well. And so, went to Texas Tech and we ran similar offenses, honestly, and from high school to college. So that obviously helped as well. I think that helped with, like I said, me having success because I had a ton of reps in kind of similar plays that we were doing. But the amount of time you have in college is just so much different than the amount of time you have in high school. And so you're able to do a little bit more, dive a little bit more into the details. Obviously, you're playing with some really, really high-level athletes, but also playing against really high-level athletes. And so, the speed's a little bit different. But I tell everyone, the competition's a little better, but so is the talent around you. You know what I mean? And so I think from that standpoint, sometimes people think, oh, man, it's so much different or so much harder, where, in my opinion, everyone's better, you know what I mean? And so it's not as different as you would think because, like I said, you're playing with higher level athletes on your team and also playing against higher level athletes. But
Awesome. We talk a lot about at the school being a student athlete, student being first. You said you didn't have a lot of time or not as much time. How did you handle being a student and an athlete?
Yeah, my college coach was a crazy one. So if you didn't take care of the classroom side of things, there were repercussions for sure with Coach Leach. But school was something I always enjoyed. Always went to class, and I think that in college, that's where a lot of student athletes go wrong. Is they stop going to class because they're not. There's not someone dropping them off or telling them they have to be somewhere. Where if you just go to class and act like you pay attention a little bit, you usually are able to have success. And so that was something that I always did. I always went to class, tried to take notes, and then everything else kind of took care of itself. But there's no question that the degree when you get to college, getting the degree probably has a lot longer lasting impact on almost everyone in there, except for an elite few that make enough money they don't have to do anything after sports. But other than that elite few, the student piece goes a lot further for them and does a lot more for them probably long term than the athlete piece of it. And so I do think it's extremely important to understand that and take care of that. And like I said, I enjoyed it. And so if you just show up and go in there with a good attitude, good things usually happen. And I think that's in sports or in the classroom. And so, Coach Leach, my guy my coach, he said the only two things that you can control your attitude and your effort. And that doesn't matter if it's on the sports field, if it's in a sports situation, in the classroom. If you walk in there with a great attitude and give effort, no matter what you're doing, good things usually happen. And I think that's true like I said, on the field or in the classroom.
You talk about not having time, trying to manage school and sports. Obviously things weren't always easy. So what were you telling yourself in those hard times, trying to push through it?
Yeah, you definitely face adversity, like you said, and for me, probably the toughest thing in college was you go from being the guy in high school just back to the scout team when you first get to college. I think those first couple years when you're not playing. Because you're back to being the backup, and it's been so long since you've done that. Those were the toughest times, you know what I mean? And kind of like I said a minute ago, you still just got to approach it. You still have to approach practice every day with a great attitude, with great effort. And I can remember in college we had to go to study hall, talking about being a student athlete. So we had, I think it was 8 hours required my freshman year of study hall. And I can remember sitting in study hall, sending emails to like people back home, not my family, but like friends and families of my friends, like, man, these dudes suck. I should be playing. You know what I mean? And just the frustration that comes with that. But you can't let it affect like your overall like mindset and mentality and your long-term vision of like, I'm still going to be like, I still want to be a great player. And I know it's not right now, but if you do things right, like I said, in the long run, you'll be better for it. And to be honest with you, I think having to sit a couple years was way better for me than if I would have got thrown in there as a true freshman, to be honest with you. Because I know as a true freshman, I would have had it wouldn't have gone as well as I probably think it would have gone in my mind. You know what I mean? And then you start to question yourself. And so being able to sit and truly learn the offense at a deeper level and get a ton of reps in it for 2 years before you actually get thrown into a game was probably the best thing that ever happened to me. And that was hard to see at the time. But now looking back, I think like that's the key is you got to have like a big picture mentality, and that's hard. And like I said, I was frustrated at times when I wasn't playing, but I do think that was good for me. And then, when you do play, things don't always go well either. So I can remember my sophomore year, we went through some tough times. There were games where I didn't play real well, and those were hard, especially at that level, because everyone's telling you how bad you're playing. And I can remember going to class, and I'd thrown 4 picks the night before, or the weekend before, and we lost. And I'm in an elevator with a kid reading the school newspaper talking about Graham Harrell threw 4 picks. And I was like, man, I'm going to kill this dude. But that's part of playing college football. And you got to take the good with the bad. And I think the key in the tough times is to remember, like, you play football because it's fun. You know what I'm saying? And it doesn't always feel fun in the moment. But football, sports in general, in my opinion, is a really, really fun game. Every day when I get home, my 9-year-old wants to play football because it's fun. You know what I mean? You start playing football because it's a fun game. And if you can always keep that perspective, like, it's still a game. It's a ton of fun to do in the tough times when it doesn't seem like a whole lot of fun. If you can remember that, it'll go a long ways for you.
Yeah, I mean, you talked a little bit about fun. So, what was the funnest or the best part of your career playing? And what were the key moments?
Well, my sophomore year, I would say the key moment. Like, there's a couple of fun games. My sophomore year, my first conference game, we're in the Big 12, and guys, your age probably don't remember this, but Texas A&M used to be in the Big 12 as well, right before there was a bunch of conference realignments. So they're kind of around my first Big 12 game. We're playing Texas A&M. We go down by 4. With like a minute left, and we drove down in A&M, which is a wild atmosphere. And I threw a touchdown with like 30 seconds left. We threw a fade. They brought pressure, threw a fade to beat them in their place, and that was a fun one. Then later that year in our bowl game, we were down, I think, 31 points midway through the third. Came back and won that game, which was at the time, I don't know if it still is, like the biggest comeback in bowl game history. And so games like that were awesome, And the one that most people remember from my playing days was my senior year. We beat Texas, was number 1 in the country, and beat them again on a last-second play.
Second down now. Deep strike. Got the big man. Crabtree pulls free. And touchdown. Red Raiders with a second to go.
He did not step out of bounds. And Harrell just put this up, relying on the best receiver in college football to make a play, and the strength of his hands. Big-time players make big plays in big games, and that's what Michael Crabtree just did.
And so, I think that, that's what everyone remembers, and those were obviously great, great memories. But to me, the best thing about sports is like the time you had in the locker room with your buddies, and like the friendships, and the locker room piece of it, just like the teammate piece of it. I think that's what you miss more than anything when you finish playing, and that's getting into coaching. You have that similar feel. You know what I mean? You still got a group of guys that you're with every day, that you're fighting for a common goal, and so you still kind of have that locker room feel that I think it's hard to get anywhere outside of sports. And so those are what I remember. Like the times just jacking around in the facility, or we go play wiffle ball on the practice field just because. We had lift in an hour, and for the next hour we go play wiffle ball on the practice field and stuff like that. Those are the things that that were like the most fun to me and that you remember like the fondest. But obviously we had some great games, and those were like the three I told you were three that a lot of people remember, and there were some other great ones. But again, I think the coolest thing about sports is kind of like that family piece of it, the camaraderie piece of it that you get with players.
Yeah, just talked a little bit about coaching. You know, that aspect of it. What was the transition like? Why did you choose coaching after you stopped playing?
So I played at Green Bay for a few years, and when I was finished, I got cut by Green Bay in my fourth season. Started bouncing around a little bit. So I was still training to play, and kind of like I mentioned earlier, all I ever wanted to do was be a high school coach because that's all I knew. My grandfather, my dad, my brothers, they were all coaching high school by that point. And so I was actually about to take a offensive coordinator job out in West Texas, and Coach Leach called me. He had gotten fired at Texas Tech he got in a little trouble, and had since gotten the job at Washington State. And so he called and said, "Hey, I heard you getting into coaching." And I'm like, "Yeah." And he knew I was going to be a coach. Like he knew that's what I wanted to do long term. And so he's like, "Well, if you're going to get into coaching, you need to come coach for me. Like, don't take that." He knew I was about to take that job. He's like, "Don't take that job. Come coach for me."
Nice catch, Bay! Nice throw, Bender! That's one great thing about Coach Leach is he believes in a process, and he believes in the way he does things, and things don't change. And so last year when I came here, I was interested to see, like, I wonder what he has changed. And you get there, like, he hasn't changed a thing, you know what I mean? So it's a smooth transition for me. I feel like I'm back just doing it like I always have, you know what I mean? Like I never left. So it's been fun for me. Like I said, it's great to be back with Coach, and I believe in the way he does things and believe in the process that we have, and so far it's paid off for us, and we've had a heck of a spring. Get upfield, Priest! Let's go! Atta baby Priester! Let's go!
And that's what I did. I moved to Washington, went up there with him. I was with him for a couple of years, and then kind of got my first offensive coordinator job, and kind of rolled from there. But that's how I got into it, and it was a blast. Like I said, working for Coach Leach was awesome. I think getting on it with him as my first job was just like the right fit and the right place to start. And then got rolling from there, and have had a blast ever since.
Final question, would there be anything you would like to tell all the students, the student athletes, just continuing on with their careers or their life?
Probably enjoy where you are right now. You know what I mean? And like I said, I had an awesome high school career, and I had some incredible games at Texas Tech. I had my first year at Green Bay was the year we won the Super Bowl, so I have a Super Bowl ring. Like incredible memory, right? And still my favorite, probably my favorite sports memories are playing football for my dad at Ennis High School, which is crazy, but because you're playing with guys you grew up with, you know what I mean? Like a bunch of dudes that wanted to be in his line since we were little kids, and we didn't, when we were playing football in the front yard, we weren't the Dallas Cowboys, we were the Ennis Lions because that's all we knew. And so just enjoy what you have now, and enjoy your high school time, because it really is a special time, and you're never going to be around people that you've known your whole life like that again, probably. And so enjoy where you are now, and kind of be where your feet are, but also moving forward, I would say, kind of what I mentioned earlier, what Leach used to say is, like, you can only control your attitude and your effort. And there's going to be a lot of things that happen. You're going to face adversity in sports. You're going to face adversity in life. And the only way to overcome adversity the right way is have a great attitude and have great effort moving forward. And if you can remember that, like I said, good things usually happen.
Awesome. Thank you. Have a great day, guys.